I agree with the claim that nonverbal communication has a greater impact on the communication process than verbal, although both play very important roles. One reason for this is that nonverbal communication tends to communicate more authentic emotions more effectively than words. While people can carefully choose their language, it's significantly more difficult to control nonverbal cues or behaviors such as facial expressions, tone of voice, posture, and eye contact. As a result, people often rely more heavily on these cues to determine whether a message is genuine. For example, if someone says they're fine but avoids eye contact and speaks in a flat tone or appears tense, most people will interpret the nonverbal cues as more truthful than the verbal statement. And this shows that nonverbal communication plays a critical role in establishing trust in the interactions. And in many cases, it's not really what's said, but more how it's said that determines whether a message is believed or not. And a second reason is that nonverbal communication strongly influences how verbal messages are interpreted. The same words can carry way different meanings depending on tone, facial expression, gestures, like I mentioned before. And for instance, a phrase like nice job can be interpreted as sincere praise, encouragement, or sarcasm, depending on the delivery. Without the nonverbal cues, communication would be far more ambiguous and prone to misunderstanding. And this is super apparent in face to face interactions where you can actually read tone and body language and stuff like that and pull context out of it. And even in digital communication, the absence of nonverbal cues often leads people to misinterpret messages, especially in text and stuff like that, which is why emojis or punctuation are sometimes used to compensate for that lack of context. And then also, nonverbal communication often is always continuous, even when no words are being spoken. Silence, physical distance, body orientation can all communicate messages about whether you're interested, you're not comfortable, your confidence, power dynamics, all of that. So because of this, nonverbal communication is always influencing the interaction and whether people are consciously aware of they're doing it or not. And this constant presence gives it more of a higher impact than verbal communication alone. And so verbal communication remains essential, especially when conveying detailed information or instructions or bigger ideas that require more precise understanding. But words provide the structure and content of a message, but the nonverbal communication often determines how that content is received, interpreted, or evaluated. So overall, I do agree that nonverbal communication has a greater impact because of that authenticity and other markers.